I want to greet you this morning and thank God for you. Even as we begin this morning, I'd like to give you a devotion this morning. But I want to thank God, because with the secret of this devotion, there is no day that the Lord cannot appear or will not act on whatever you need, because God is able to do this. When we go for meetings, sometimes we introduce something, and whatever you introduce, you are told that one is not in the agenda, therefore you will introduce it as an A or B. And this is why I've given the theme of this one, saying you may not be in God's agenda, but the but releases or puts you in a position where you are the one to choose if you can be in God's agenda. A story is told in the book of Mark chapter 10 verse 46 to 52 that says that they came to Jericho, and they went out of Jericho. They came into Jericho, but then they came out of Jericho. And this is Jesus with his disciples as they were going. And as they were going out of Jericho, his disciples and a great multitude, blind Bartimaeus was a beggar at this gate. And the son of Timaeus sat by the road begging. He was tired of his status. He was not in Jesus' agenda in this day. But even as he was there, he heard that Jesus of Nazareth was passing by. He didn't want to know where Jesus was going, but he let out a shout. The shout was a very embarrassing, loud shout. But then the shout may have been embarrassing, but it was a shout of faith, a shout of desperation, a shout of tiredness with his status quo. And so when he cried out like that, the Bible tells us that many warned him to be quiet. But he cried out all the more. He increased his volume. And as he shouted and shouted, Jesus, who did not have him in his agenda of people to be healed, turned and said, let him come. Let him come. Because it was a shout of faith. And when he went to Jesus, he was prepared for what he needed, because he wanted healing so much, so bad, that he could not just let go. He could not be deterred by the people that wanted him to act like a gentleman or kukaa kama mungwana. Then when he was called, he was told, be of good cheer, he is calling you. So he went to Jesus, and Jesus asked him, what do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Rabboni, that I may receive my sight. And Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. You may not be in God's agenda, but how desperate are you for him to turn and say, I'm making you my agenda because of your desperation, or because of your desire. Another story is also told about the woman with the issue of blood. She was not in Jesus' agenda of people to be healed, but she had spent all her money, and the only hope she had was Jesus. And so she went to Jesus. She came from behind and touched the borders of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus started asking, who touched me? Now, you may not be in God's agenda, but your faith, but your desperation, your expectation, your restlessness with your situation will set you free. You will be in God's agenda because you want it so much. But if you don't want it so much, you will not be in his agenda. How desperate are you Because it matters. How tired are you of your status? Because it matters. If you are tired of your status, if you are desperate for a change, you must make that desperate move. You must give that desperate shout, because God is waiting for those who cry to him. Esau, when he came to his father, and his father Isaac was wondering what to do with him, he told him, yes, by your sword you shall live, and your brother you shall serve, but it shall come to pass when you grow restless, when you grow tired, when you get fed up with the status quo, with whatever is going on, and you shall break off the yoke of your brother from off your neck. All this depends on how desperate you are, or how much you want a change. You may not be in God's agenda today, my brother and my sister, as you go out, but how much do you want your breakthrough? It depends on you, and God will act on what you call him for. God bless you, my brother.